Welcome to Sunday Springboard with Melanie and Kimberlyn Coaching, where we help women recover from and flourish after stress and trauma. When I was a kid, we were going camping up in Arkansas. I was probably in middle school, and we were driving in this big red station wagon, 5 kids, all of us going crazy, going up in the Ozarks, these tiny, windy roads up in the mountains. I know they're not mountains compared to some places, but being from Texas, they felt like mountains. And we were on these windy roads, and all of a sudden, my father starts driving over the cliff. I was astonished, I was scared, I was freaking out. I thought we were dying. Turns out there was a sign there that I had not seen. He was driving perfectly correctly. The road was steep, but there was a road, and he was not actually literally driving over the cliff. I was scared to death. I had a realistic fear for what I thought was happening, but it was not true. How many times are our fears not really true? Hang on a minute, let me share my screen. So when we have fears, just because we have them doesn't mean we have to stay stuck in them. We can use our imagination to help us remove them, and that's what we're going to do today. But first, let's remember what we've been talking about. We've been talking about trauma, which is what happens in your body when you have stress. Daily negative things in your life culminates in trauma to your body. We've learned how to regulate our bodies in the moment, breathing, singing, moving, dancing, walking, whatever feels good to you. You have to determine, you have to have a toolbox of tools that you can use at different times to help yourself in the moment. Then we talked about eliminating stressful situations where we can. It's not always possible, and it's not always necessary. Sometimes it's good if things are mildly stressful to go through them and you conquer them, and then you feel like you are competent because you're able to go through this stressful situation. But then the main thing is to decrease our reaction to stress. We realize that it's not the situation so much as it is our reaction. And as we've been talking about how do we change our reactions, we've been talking about the core disciplines. These are concepts that when we use them in our lives, help us live more powerfully. We show up more energetically in our life. We have a more positive influence on people around us, and we actually have more joy ourselves. So we talked about becoming aware of what's going on around us, not just barreling through life, running on the habits that we've run on all our life that we haven't even thought about. Then we accept this is what is true. This is reality. We come out of denial about ourselves, about other people, about our circumstances. Then we can make conscious choice. We can determine and we can respond to things out of choice rather than just reacting, because this is the way we've always reacted. As we're making those choices, we trust the process. We're not going to change overnight. Nothing in life changes overnight. Things are difficult. That's okay. We can do difficult things. Things are challenging. That's okay. We trust the process. We don't just go back and forth, back and forth. We give it a little bit of time. We tweak it when necessary, but we trust that we have done our research. We have got advice, and we're moving in the right direction. Then authenticity, we learn to be ourselves. I don't have to be you. You don't have to be me. I just want to find out, who am I? Who do I really want to be? And who, because when I am that, when I'm really me, I'm actually blessing the world, because there's only one me, there's only one you. Now we've been on fearlessness for a while. Fear causes stress. Oh my word, when we're afraid of things, we are constantly stressed. When we are worrying, when we are afraid of things, it stops us from doing what we want. It stops us from sleeping, causes many negative things. So today we're talking about removing fears. And like I said at the beginning, we're going to use our imagination to help us walk through some fears and be able to let some of them go. So we're going to do fear setting first. This is kind of walking through what's the worst case scenario. Then we're going to have another exercise on how to conquer performance fear. And then the last exercise is going to be one about how to conquer fear of failing, of being embarrassed, of other people judging us. So for fear setting, You want to start off, you want to make a list of all your fears. Once you make that list, just maybe start off on the one that's the biggest one to you, and start getting very detailed about what this is you fear. What actually is it? Describe it. What does it look like? What does it feel like? And then once you get that there and you say, what's the worst case scenario? Then you say, so what? So let's say this is a minor, well, could be not minor. Maybe you're taking a test. Maybe you're taking a big test. You're taking your boards or your SATs or MCATs or something, a big test. And it's important to you that you fail it. So you say, what is the worst case scenario? Worst case is I fail it. Okay, so if I fail it, then what happens? Well, then depending upon the class, I either ask them, can I take it again? What if they say, no, I can't take it again? Well, then, okay, I failed the test. Okay, what then? What does that mean? Now, if I say this means I'm a failure, I'm no good, I'm never going to get this, that takes me down the fear and the stress. If I say, okay, well, I failed it, I guess I'll take it again next time. When you keep walking through the worst case scenario, well, so, okay, so you've got to wait till next time. What does that mean? I'm going to have to start paying my loan off sooner, or whatever that means. I'm not going to get the job I wanted to get. Walk through the worst case scenario and keep saying, and what if that happens? And then what if that happens? And then also, what does that mean? What does that mean about me? What is that saying about me? And as you're looking at these fears, first you can look at and say, what can I do to prevent this from happening? How can I ask other people to help me? Even if this is going to be just a tiny, tiny chance of it not happening. So it's a test. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to study. I'm going to study a lot. Maybe I'm going to take the day off, a day before or a week before or whatever it takes for whatever this test is. I'm going to study hard. I'm going to get someone to help me, quiz me on this, whatever. Just what can you do to get other people to help you or to do on your own that can help this possibly not happen? And then for each thing, when you imagine the worst case and you imagine it failing, you imagine it messing up, then what can you do to repair it? What can you do to get back on track of whatever it is? Where would you be able to keep going in the same path, or would it make you want to go a different path? But what can you do to get back on track afterwards? Once you go through those in your imagination, it's really not as scary as it was before you did, because I don't know about you, but for me, it all gets up here in my head and it's foggy, but it's big. And then when you get it all written down, it's little. Y'all probably remember my story about the frogs, the guy that was going to sell frog legs to the restaurant owner, and he was going to buy a whole bunch. And when the guy went out there, he found there was only 2. They were really noisy, and it made him think there was a whole lot. So many times we've only got a couple worries, but our brains make it seem like a whole lot. So once you get it down, write it in a list, let yourself go there. Let yourself imagine what if the worst happens. Okay, the second one we're going to talk about is conquering performance fear. And when I say performance, you're probably thinking performing in front of other people, doing something in front of a big auditorium. It could mean that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means you doing something. Are you afraid of not being able to do this well? So think of the most pressure-packed situation that you can. Could be in front of a bunch of people or cannot, whatever is the most stressful for you. So let's say this one is possibly you're a teacher and your principal is coming in to watch you and you just feel a lot of anxiety about this. So write down the details. Again, we're just using our imagination. What is it going to be like? He's going to come in, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And imagine that you're about to perform the actions. You're about to teach the lesson that you're teaching the kids or whatever. Go through it in your imagination. Then, okay, so you've got this performance you're going to be doing and you've got this outcome that you want. I want to feel like I just blew it away and the principal is like, oh yeah, you did a great job, whatever. And decide what beliefs you would need to have to release that outcome, that attachment to that outcome. Okay, that's what I want, but maybe that I won't get that. Maybe he'll just nod his head, or maybe he won't give me any notion of good or bad, and I won't know until he writes up his report. What would you have to believe to be okay with that and to release your attachment on that outcome? Then the next time, let's think of what are some of those beliefs. Some of those beliefs are, I'm always growing, I'm always learning. If it's not as good as I want, then I just take those and keep going. If you'll notice, all the things we're talking about today are that mastery mindset versus the performance mindset. If you have not listened to that one before, and if you haven't listened to our past videos, go to my website, KimberlinCoaching.com. On the video tab, all the past videos are on there. And if you don't see one that specifically says performance mastery mindset, message me and I'll figure out which one that one is for you. But the difference in mastery and performance mindsets: mastery believes we're always learning, there are no mistakes, I always do the best I can, and if I fail, then I just learn from it and go on. Performance is, if it's not perfect, I'm a failure, I'm no good, I might as well give up and quit, and it's over with. So all we're talking about today boils down to that mastery mindset versus the performance mindset. So the next time you have whatever this situation is that makes you anxious, remember those beliefs that you had figured out that you need to believe. And then before you do anything, take 3 deep breaths. Today, before I went live, I did my breathing exercises to calm your brain and help your brain think more clearly. Remember that box breath where you breathe in 4, hold it for 4, out for 4, and hold it for 4. If you do that, that actually gives your brain a reset. It's scientific. Okay, so our last one we're going to look at is, how do we conquer fear of failure, embarrassment, and judgment of other people, from other people? So remember, think of the last time you failed. Write out what happened. So for me, I can remember that I applied for a job I wanted. I felt pretty good about it, thought I was going to get it, and I did not get it. I felt like I failed. Now my old self, and I probably had a few thoughts of this, but my old self would have said, oh, you're such a failure, you're a loser. Why did you even try to interview for this, yada, yada. But nowadays I don't let myself stay there. So review your account of the experience and then look for what is the truth. What really happened? Our old self, our old tapes that we've been telling ourselves all our lives are probably negative. They're probably just telling us, give it up, you're never going to make it, you're a failure, why did you even try? And that is not, probably most of the time, is not the truth of what happened. So decide what actually did happen. I actually talked to the woman who was in charge, and she said that they had only a limited amount of people and they had people with more experience than me. What can you say? There's no way to get experience except to keep doing it. So I will just keep doing it. So decide what really truly happened, and then think about yourself. So did you fail? Did you actually fail to reach the goal? And does that actually make you a failure? If it does, why? Why does that make you a failure? Again, mastery mindset versus performance mindset. So on the teacher one, if she didn't get a good review, maybe this means I'm a terrible teacher. I'm a failure as a teacher. I'm never going to make it. It's never going to get better. Might as well give up. Now continue to think and decide whose definition, like if you decided, okay, this does mean I'm a failure, whose definition of failure are you using? Yours? Someone else's? Is this a good definition of what failure is? My definition of what failure is now is different than what it used to be. Now, I believe the only way you can fail is to quit. All the things I've done in my life, all the recovery stuff I've done the last 30-something years, the only thing I've done perfectly in all of it is I've never quit. As long as you don't quit, you're not a failure. At least that's my definition. What is your definition? And if yours is a negative one that puts you down and makes you sad, how can you change it? How can you come up with a different definition of what failure is? And then if you were embarrassed, what were you really embarrassed about? You had a feeling of embarrassment, but what were the thoughts behind that? Everyone is probably right. When you're embarrassed, it's always everyone is looking at me. Everyone is thinking this. Everyone is thinking that. Generally, embarrassment doesn't happen when we're by ourselves. Generally, embarrassment is around other people and we're worried about what other people are thinking. And then if someone judged you, maybe someone did judge you. If they did, who was it? And what is their place in this? Is this any of their business? What is their stake? Now, if it was your principal judging your teaching that day, or people that graded the test or whatever, they have a right to judge in whatever way they're doing it. But think about the people that you're bothered about. What stake do they have, and what business is it of them, your performance? And notice that if it's not someone who is in authority over you, then their judgment of you is a statement about them. It's not a statement about you. It really has little to do with you, because you have different people who can judge you in different ways. And you did the same thing. So when people judge you, when I judge someone else, it's a statement about me, not about them. So if you can keep yourself from remembering that if they do judge you, if they do say negative things, it's about them, not you. So finally, just remind ourselves we can use our imagination to help us remove the fears. We can remove it first, use it first by fear setting, which is we walk through the worst case scenario. What if, what if, what if, what then, what then, what then? Second one, conquering performance fear. Go through the situation, imagine it, decide what beliefs I have to be okay with whatever outcome I have. And the third one is when we're trying to be not worried about failure, embarrassment, or other people's judgment. Again, imagine the situation, walk through it. And this one, you're actually imagining one that happened before and you're remembering it and trying to decide what was the truth. Was I really a failure? What is my definition of failure? What business is it of the other people? And what was I truly embarrassed about? We can use our imaginations in a powerful way to help us remove the fears. And once we become fearless, we have a lot less stress. All right, I hope you have a great week. Hope you have a less stressful week. If you need help in working on any of this, you know that I would love to help you. I would love to have a talk with you. There's a link at the bottom of the show notes. You can schedule a free coaching session and we can talk about whether coaching would be good for you and whether we would resonate with each other for a coaching relationship. Would be very happy to visit with you about that. All right, have a great week. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.